Happy Friday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Another episode of You've Gotta Be Sha Tinning Me. Joined as always by Matt Carlson. Matt, what's going on, my friend?
Not too much. We had a little bit of a win streak at Hong Kong here. Toad issues aside, which I don't want to immediately hack a nerve when we jump into the podcast, but I think I did anyway. So
Dude, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I wake up on Saturday, or no, I wake up on Sunday, and I have a message from you that says you're gonna be so pissed. And so in my head, I'm just because that's all you said.
yeah,
And
you're like,
so
oh, I must have lost by a nose or something like that. Some typical horse racing stuff. And not that
yeah,
this
or
isn't
like,
typical horse racing stuff, but
dude. And so it's thinking I got one of my prices home, and then I got boomed by some even money horse or something, right? And so I look, and there's no results for any of the races. I'm like, what the heck? And so I can't find any results anywhere. And so then I go and I look at my wagers, and I'm like, oh, I'm up a little bit of money. Because I had a nice win bet on my best bet, which I think I ended up going off pretty short. The horse I kind of highlight, I think he went off like 7 to 5, 8 to 5, 9 to 5, something like that. Um, but so I won a little bit of money there, and then all my other stuff got refunded, and I'm like, what the heck happened? And then so I go to the Hong Kong website, and I notice that they have results, and all my horses won. It was a $2 pick three, which
Mhm.
I think was what, like $600 ish, probably with consolations, somewhere around
uh,
there.
I don't. Somewhere around there. I don't know. It's hard to know because right, they refunded so much money that they
Hmm.
had to literally they redrew the odds. I think of like the races that they
Mm,
refunded. So you know, basically yeah, I think race 9 they posted certain odds, and I don't know what the odds actually went off at.
mm.
But like I had win bets. I had a pretty decent Quinella race 9 in there, and all that came back to me. So
Yeah, and so I've been I've been kind of dabbling in other ADWs just because, um, like for example, for Happy Valley, right? Naira Bets, it's my ADW of choice. They don't post Happy Valley early.
mhm.
So I can't bet it. I'm not up when it goes off, and so I can't bet it ahead of time. The only places that offer it are ExpressBet and TwinSpires.
Yep.
So I've been using TwinSpires a bit. Um, and when I was at the Derby, I used TwinSpires because they seem to be the ones that don't go down on Derby day. I mean, they all do, and TwinSpires eventually does slow down to a crawl. But so I've been using TwinSpires a lot. Not my favorite ADW by any stretch, but I've been having this really weird. Like my bank doesn't like Naira bets for some reason, so occasionally they just block me from funding my account through the bank, and then Naira's like, all right, we gotta close your basically they lock me on my account. So this happens late this has happened maybe once or twice in the 4 or 5 years I've been using them as my main AEW. Now it happens once a month, and it's just I don't know. I gotta either get a new bank or I gotta figure out what the heck is going on. But every time I gotta get on the phone with Naira, figure out what's going on, get them to unlock it, and I get back on it. It's stupid. But anyways, yeah, and so I'm like, what the hell happened? And so I saw Nick mention oh, well, this happened to me, not realizing I at this point didn't realize the exact gravity of the situation, that it
Yeah, the
was the
scale of
whirlpool that went down.
yep.
So I messaged TwinSpires and because he's like, oh, I messaged Twin Spires and they made it right, and I was like, all right, I'll see what happens. And they were like, up, not our fault, and I felt a little bad because the guy's like, oh, what else can I help you with? I'm like, well, that would mean that you've helped me with something, and he's like, okay, poor guy, but yeah, I mean, just that I honestly that I haven't been that tilted with racing since maximum security probably. So the rest of Sunday and the rest of Monday was just full on tilt betting. It was just full on tilt betting, and it was just not good. But we live to fight another day. Taking a few days off of wagering, and we'll see. We'll see what the weekend holds. Maybe I'll probably look a little bit at Churchill Downs this weekend, but light week before we get to Belmont next week. And but yeah, man, that was a tough. I what's tough about it is it's like I just feel like the game is so hard now, you know, that like for that to be like how you lose. Like it's just like you find new ways to like lose.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And I mean, we've had this with Tampa Bay. I remember I think Foxhound, our friend Foxhound, who's done our show a couple times. He's a very heavy Tampa player, and he got screwed by that, and then basically like his handle's gone to like basically zilch since then. And just we've seen all kinds of other stuff. If it's not that, if it's not the stewards, if it's not just jockeys, like I don't know, man. It's just tough. But
Yeah.
you know,
I
you
know.
you. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
No, I was gonna say. I mean, we both work in IT, and not to turn this into a technology podcast all of a sudden, but right, like, I mean, look, domestic racing aside, which has its obviously problems, you would think the one place that would have this completely locked down, and the last place you'd expect something like this to happen would be through Hong Kong and through the word pool, right? Um, but I mean, the first thought that came to mind, right? I mean, I work in technology audit. This is what I do for a living, and I keep posting, hey, audit the totes, right? Like realistically, the first thing that came to mind was, wow, nobody gives a shit about disaster recovery until you lose. What did they lose out on based on those refunds? They lost out on what, $12 million, $10 million, something like that, based on what they had to refund, right? Like, I guarantee you, there was a way to architect that thing where that shit didn't happen, right? And nobody gives a shit about that until heads roll or you lose money, and now all of a sudden, well, guess what we got to care about all of a sudden. So, hey, look, I mean, I don't think this, says, hey, I'm not confident in the Hong Kong tote. By the way, I'm not confident in any other tote, right? I have long said that if, people are, people keep posting on Twitter like, oh, past posting doesn't happen. And the CAWs, like, even though they have last tick, there's nothing nefarious going on. It's just a graphics issue, things like that. And to me, I just say, I can prove it, right? Like, if this is, gambling infrastructure and you want to tell me that those things are happening, show me where you have an independent auditor come in and tell me what, that that's actually true. Until that happens, you own that, and all you're just telling me, but I have no assurances that that is not happening, right? Any other company in the world would have to do that and have some independent assessor come in and show you that those things cannot happen, right? And as far as I know, that's not happening. So what guarantees do I have that these things don't go down? But I mean, again, Hong Kong again is not immune to that, right? Apparently, nobody is assessing these things to make sure that stuff like this can't happen, and apparently, no one wants to, right? So it doesn't inspire confidence in the game, right? At all. To your point, right? Stuff like this shouldn't happen, can't happen in this day and age. Should be preventable, is preventable. Things are going to happen. It is technology, right? I'm sure we wouldn't have jobs if things never happened and
Hmm.
technology just worked all the time. But there's ways around it, right? And part of our jobs is to determine how to mitigate those circumstances so that this shit doesn't happen. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's
So
frustrating, right? I mean, I lost out on $200, and $200 isn't going to make or break my bankroll. But I was really excited when I watched that race and said, "Hey, wow, I hit a very sizable win bet and a sizable quinola." And I went to sleep and I woke up the next morning and posted, "Wow, I had a really great day," and then said, "What the f happened?" Was my next post. So that's not a good feeling. We roll on.
What's funny is on Thursday we had our all IS meeting at the organization I work at, and we had a talk about change management. And basically, long story short, we had a number of issues happen, production issues, right, with various applications, right, not just the application I work on. And mind you, I work on a small part of our application. Our team is great with change management, but not all of our team, not all of the teams on are as good as ours. And the basically he's like, our CIO is just like, look, like something's got to change because I'm getting pulled into meetings where higher ups are saying that they don't have confidence in the IT team, right? And I'm like, this is happening at one organization, right? Like what is going on? This is literally a like global thing. Um, but I don't know. Yeah, I like we could talk to the till the cows come home on just some of the just weird stuff where like you look at how a modern industry would fix this, or at least try and do something. Hell, even Domino's changed their damn recipe because people hated it. Like what the heck? Like do something. But I don't know.
Hashtag
It's
horse
just
racing. Do something,
yeah, do something,
please.
please, anything. And no, not horse racing roulette. But yeah. Anyways, let's get into racing. We're gonna start here at race 9, Class 3 racing, the Fotan Handicap. We're gonna be going the unicorn distance, 1,400 meters, 7 furlongs. Um, and yeah, I thought that this race was kind of open and shut. Um, I think that the horses I landed on are going to be two of the three short price horses in this race. Um, my main opinion in this race is I'm going to be fading the one cross border Pegasus here. Um, coming off of 3 wins in a second at 1,200 meters is going to be stretching out here. But he was kind of life or death in that last race to kind of win. And, you know, I see, Zach get off and Hugh gets back on. And I mean, Hugh's, ridden this horse 3 times, right? But the fact that Zach kind of got on and then got right off, that tells me enough. This is the horse gaining 8 pounds. Uh, it is drawn fine, but is the high weight in here, and the best jock in the colony is jumping off. I think that, and this is the horse that's stretching out for the first time. Like I just think that there's too many variables going on to that, so I'm gonna be fading this horse. Um, My guess is he's probably gonna end up like your second choice. Maybe he might be your favorite, but um, he's gonna be their first or second choice. So I'm gonna have like I said, it's not like I'm taking sticking my neck out here because I am gonna be using the 3 Everyone Star, which is the horse that Zach ends up on, and is gonna also be probably very short here, coming off that last wins, gaining 6 pounds off of that. Um, but this is a horse that's got a couple of runs at this distance, so I'm just feeling a little bit more confident in this type of horse, and I like the fact that Zach is getting aboard here. My guess is this is, like I said, this is either your favorite or your second choice. Um, and I was gonna AB this with Everyone Star being an A and Yun Long Elite being a B, but I think I'm gonna use these both as A's just because of the draw here, right? Last time Everyone Star drew the rail and won. I mean, the fact that Zach is on here, like I said, I think says a lot. So, but it is going to be, I think, a taller task to try and win from the 11 post versus the rail like last time. So the other horse I'm going to use is Yunlong Elite here. And he went off favored last time out, but I think off that loss, off the fact that the 1 and 3 in here, Cross Border Pegasus and Everyone Stars in here, and oh by the way, Eris Nova is actually not that bad of a horse either. So I think that this is just going to be a slightly tougher field. Is picking up some weight, but this has been kind of a very consistent horse. Has got a couple of figures that fit in here, and has shown tactical speed, and is drawn in the two post, right? So I just think that this is the horse that's going to be able to maybe get the lead and go wire to wire in this one. And I think, like I said, it's just going to have a much easier trip of it than a horse like the 3 Everyone Star. But I think Everyone Star could just be the best horse in this race. So those are the two horses I'm using. I'm using the 3 Everyone Star and the 5 Yun Long Elite. Matt, where did you land?
Yeah, I probably saw it pretty similar to you. I think I'm of the same opinion that I wanted to get around cross border Pegasus just for a lot of the same reasons, right? I think don't get me wrong, he completely fits, and I think if the prices are even, maybe he moves back into being a use for me. He's not that far off from the top figures in this race. Obviously, I think he'll be too short, right? Just from where I'm trying or where I thought he'd map, I thought he'd be a pretty heavy favorite, and I just don't see that much favoritism between him and some other horses in here. But if it's more even, maybe he's a use. So, but right now, I think I'll assume that he will be the probably go off his favorite in here just based on kind of the record, right? I like Yunlong Elite as well. He's shown some versatility, right? I mean, he can wire, but if you look at the races before that, he was kind of a deep closer. I don't know. He's kind of oscillated back and forth between run styles, which is a positive. I guess my only concern is he's kind of turning into a serial board hitter a little bit. And I also don't like Keith Young up all that much. He's got 2 wins out of 78 races at 1400. It just gave me enough pause to think like, okay, I want to look elsewhere in here. I'll use Young Elite as a B, but he's probably not where I want to go on the win line. Um, and so two other horses kind of stuck out to me. I thought the other horse that might take a lot of money would be the 8 Kai Ying Attack. He started up off the break. He has been running really well. He doesn't have to pick up any weight, unlike Young Elite or Cross Border Pegasus. He's drawn well again. I think he can keep moving forward. Right, he was kind of running in those restricted races, had about a 4 month layoff, and has kind of run two pretty decent efforts coming off that break. So, I think all signs can point to him potentially taking this race. I think, based on some of the other numbers, I think he'll at least be third choice, if not higher. So, I'm willing to use him here. Uh, you know, as if he moves forward, he's maps right there. The only other horse that I wanted to use, and I was kind of stretching to see, okay, what could this horse do? Was the 7 California Bay. I think this is one of those where if you watch the replay, it says a lot more than the comments say on this horse. This horse has traveled really well. If you look at the first race, it says, okay, he was taken back to the rear. Normally, that means when you're breaking from the 12 post, you're doing that to like get over to the rail, right, and get better position. He really just kind of ran a 3 wide, 4 wide trip the entire way around. Like literally never got within 3 or 4 wide. And was still closing at the end into a race that actually got wired by Claw Me Glorious. I think the debut is actually kind of promising with that, right? Like given that it was a wide trip around and he was still kind of making up ground at the end. I think the better draw helps. I think second up helps. I do think the trials here are good. I do think given kind of, what you saw, you'll get a pretty big price on this horse again. And so I'm willing to use that just based on, again, you got a young horse, should be a progressive type here, and hopefully can work out a trip from a better draw and show a lot more than he did last time. So I'll use the 7 and the 8 as A's here. I'll use the 5 Young Elite as a B. And I'll probably again try and get around cross border Pegasus unless the odds kind of shift way different than I think they will. So
Cool. Let's move on to race 10, all weather racing, your favorite. And we're going to be going the 2 turn mile here. And yeah, we got a nice field of 13 in this race. Where did you land here?
this is a salty race just based on the fact that you have a lot of horses that haven't done this before, right? Like I think the top weights in here are, trying all weather for the first time. I don't really think either of them want all weather. I think this is probably a ploy to keep them down, in class or, you know, I don't know what. Maybe this is just the only race they drew into and wasn't a choice. But I don't think they're here to win this race, to be honest with you. So tossing those, there's a lot of horses I think that are, kind of extending out in distance too. There's horses that have run on the all weather at 1200 but haven't run at 1650 before. And to borrow an Andrew Champagneism, I don't want to take a short price on any horse in here that hasn't done this before. So horses like Sing Dragon, Self Improvement, kind of don't have that two turn, you know, chances. So I don't know. Yeah, it's a tough race because if one of these horses ends up, taking to the distance, taking to the trip, it'll be because they, just kind of came out of nowhere and showed something that again they haven't done before. So that makes it challenging. I think there are three horses that did stand out to me, not in really any particular order. Um, I did like the five Telecom Fighters. I do think there's a chance Telecom Fighters wires this. I'm not sure he'll get the easy pace like last time by any means. He did win kind of on a slow pace last out. I don't think he wants to pass horses. I do think part of the problem with horses kind of coming in off shorter distances is if you extend them out, they're going to be more forward. Um, they might challenge that lead, and so it's tepid. I think if anything, I might use Telecom Fighters as a B, just because I don't think he maps well like last time. Although he is kind of still projected to be a lone pace, quote unquote. So there's that. The other two horses I liked, they were the 11 Talents Ambition and the 13 Turin Mascot. I think I probably just defaulted to say, hey, look, these horses have run pretty well at the configuration before. They're the low weights. They have decent draws. Um, you know, Really, I don't know. These two turn dirt races, I just try and get through because you have such a small sample size. You have such a, minimal, evidence as to who wants to do this. That's just kind of where I ended up. Those are the two that I think, just based on how they've run at 1650 before, the best in here at the lowest weights. So I'll be 11 and 13 mostly, and I think use Telecom Fighters underneath too. And again, just kind of hope to get through it.
Yeah, I would like Telecom Fighters a lot more. If I knew what horses like the six Soliel Fighter were gonna do, um, and there were a couple other. The two California Totality has shown speed. The one there's a couple of horses in here that have shown sneaky speed or shown just flat out speed. Maybe
Yep.
not necessarily on the all weather. And now we're drawn out in the nine post, right? And you know you got a little bit of a run, to the turn, but you don't have all that much, and so yeah, this is definitely a horse that's done his best running on the front end, especially on the all weather. I think that all weather race, and obviously he did it from the 12 post that time, right? Like so, not to say he can't do it again, but yeah, I just think that he's gonna be I think he's gonna be tough, and or it's gonna be tough for him to kind of repeat that here. But I'm gonna use as an A. I'm of course right. He used 57 to 1 last time. We're gonna get, I don't know, maybe hopefully 10 to 1 on this horse, but we'll see how this kind of gets bet. Um, I agree with you on the 11 Talents Ambition. I think that this is a horse that if you look at the two turn races, uh, they both kind of fit. They both fit in here. Coming from off the pace in both those races, and I just think that maybe there's a chance that he's getting a little bit more pace help in here. There's going to be a little bit hotter of a pace, and so I think that there's a chance that he's got pace to close into here. So he's my other A in here. The one horse I use as a B is the 10 Must Go, who's stepping up in the class here, and has run this two turn configuration a couple of times, twice, and is not run very well in either of them. I think he's got a fifth, and I don't know what he ran the other one, but he's had success at the 1200 meters. Now, I'm asking a lot here, right? But I think if Ed Zenny can, not think like most shocks and be like, hey, this is a sprinter, and let's hurry him forward when he's done his best running, kind of coming from off the pace, in those 1200 meters. So I think if he can kind of keep the horse close, and try and make that one run where it seems like he's been very successful doing that. So, and at Zenny has ridden this horse 7 times, 3 wins in a second, doing that. So maybe he just gets the horse, and maybe he's able to, kind of, conserve the horse a little bit, and try and make that one run. But I kind of see him the same as a kind of like the 11. I just think that there's a lot of pace in here, and if he can kind of, sit off that pace, and kind of, make that run, yeah, I think he's going to be kind of dangerous in here. So I'm going to use the 5 and the 11 as A's, and I got the 10 must go as my lone B.
Good luck having against anything out there.
Oh God, I mean that's why he's a B, right? Race 11, we have Class 3 racing, 1600 meters, the Ma Liu Shu handicap, and you know I basically landed on the one winning gold. I think he's kind of the I guess the now horse, right? Like he's the one who's coming in here, with the form, right, with the last win. And when I kind of looked at some of these other horses, like there haven't been horses that have shown too much success at this distance, or have even run this distance, right? I want to say half the field hasn't run this trip. And winning gold at least has a win over it, has a figure that fits in with the rest of them. I mean, the other horse that does is Tourbillon Prince, right? But Tourbillon Prince right now is just so off form and just kind of up and down. Like, I mean, there might be a price for this horse, but Zach rode him, and like the horse finished up the track. So I'm a little curious what, like I don't know how he gets back to that figure he ran, months ago. I mean, there is one in there, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna pay to find out. The other two horses that I was interested in, of course, right? I mean, God must just think that this is a cruel, sick joke because I landed on that Zenny again in the 7 Magnificent Nine. I thought of the horses with runs at this distance. This is one that does have one that kind of fits here, not necessarily on this trip, but his best race was probably a race 5 back, which it was 1400 meters, but it was at the same. It was at it was kind of coming off the pace, and I just kind of thought that that race kind of fits in here. He hasn't necessarily been like all that far off it the last couple times, and I don't know if it's just because he keeps drawing well that he keeps running well, but I thought that he kind of fit in here. And he's not that far off of it, so I'll give him a look. And then the other one was the number 9 horse, Flying Luck, and he's more kind of like he's kind of a pretty consistent horse here. They've been trying. They tried him last time out, going a little bit longer, and he finished third by a neck with kind of a tough trip. So he's got to win at this distance with Abdullah aboard, and that's his only. And Abdullah's only ridden this horse once, and he's won. So Abdullah gets back aboard. Obviously we're up in class from that last win, but I think the last two races have been okay. They look like they've shown a little bit of improvement, right? This is a 4-year-old at this point. So I thought that he was interesting in here, getting Abdullah aboard and being able to, maybe it's just a jock that kind of gets him. So I'm gonna use the one winning gold as my lone A, and I got the seven magnificent nine and the nine flying luck as my Bs. Where did you land?
Yeah, I really like Flying Luck in here for the same reasons you do, right? I thought he was run pretty well in Class 3. The past two, I did like Abdullah getting back up. I guess my one concern is it's his fifth jockey in six races, although
Mm,
Abdullah is the repeat in here. I was too lazy to look into, why that is, right? I don't know if it was just people were traveling or suspended or, what. But yeah, I mean, on Figs, I think he maps really well. The other two horses that I think map okay are the 7 and actually Ben Thompson on the 14, Oriental Smoke. But I'm sick of betting Ben Thompson and injury at any in my get out races because they don't win.
mm.
So I'm dropping those. But if they win, so be it. But yeah, so Flying Luckle was going to be my lone A. The other horse that I liked in here uh, was the 8 Fighting Machine. And oddly, right? I mean, at least for as far back as I pull, right? Like Fighting Machine's been running on all weather recently. The turf races have basically been on yielding, and so I pull like 12 races at a time. And he's got one race on Sha Tin, firm turf course, back in September, and he won. So as far as I'm concerned, this horse is 1 for 1 on firm turf at Sha Tin, which is hopefully what he'll be running on here. So that fig fits. I mean, far be it from me to say like, oh, like these, all weather races should be better. I don't know why they kept running him on all weather after winning a turf race at Sha Tin. It's odd to me that they never ran back again, short of that one, yielding race back in March. But maybe, right? I don't know what price you get on this horse. I'm hoping he gets incredibly lost in the shuffle out here, and maybe can show something, right? In a race that I don't think is that strong and doesn't have many standouts. Maybe this horse can be a standout. Maybe this is what this horse wants to do, and just they haven't slotted him there for whatever reason. So I'll use the 8 Fighting Machine. I'll make it an A just based on the price. I don't want to lose out on make it a horse that I think will be pretty big odds, as a B. So those will be the only two that I use. I think are the 9 Flying Luck and the 8 Fighting Machine in here.
Nice. And then I know you wanted, or you took a look at the Sha Tin Vase here,
Mhm.
little Group 3 race. What did you think here?
Yeah, I thought. I mean, obviously, it's a really competitive race. I love this race every year. Having the best sprinters in the world all kind of competing going 1200. This is, it's a Group 3, but it's always a pretty salty Group 3. I thought there was a lot of speed signed on in here, and it's hard to think that a 6, furlong race, especially with the best sprinters in the world, is going to just full on melt. But it's set up for a closer to me, and the, if you look at the closers in here, I think the three horses that want to close are, Helios Express, who's going to be breaking from the 11 post. He maps well, but he is drawn outside, so that's a concern. You have a horse like Patcha Theta, who I think needs shorter, right? I don't think he's ever run 1200, or a couple times he's run 1200. He's just kind of ended up short because I think he needs a longer distance. And the only horse that maps, I think, is the 8 Mugen, and I think there's a potential that Mugen could be back here, right? He ran. Yeah, I know. Yeah, you circle what I circled too. But look, like he went to Japan, he ran horrifically in Japan, and then has not looked great since, right? I don't think handled coming back from that trip all that well. Has been some incredibly high odds. Obviously, has been incredibly high odds because he's running against horses like Cayenne Rising, who he was not ever going to beat. So 88 to 1 very well may have been like third choice in that race just based on the amount of money that Cayenne Rising took, right? Um, but I think if you look, he's been progressively getting a little bit better. His odds have been progressively getting a little bit shorter. And I think this is the right field to take him out. I think if this horse can get back to what he was, which is a big ask, but if he can get back to what he was, and you've seen a little bit of that form kind of coming back slowly, there's a huge chance in here. And I think this race will set up for him pretty well. And he's going to be flying late. And hopefully we can catch a price. If he goes off double digits, hey, maybe we'll catch something in here. So I'm going to go with the 8 Mugen in the vase, in the vase. And Yeah, hopefully we catch it.
Nice. I did the opposite of you. You went to the highest class race on the card. I went to race one, which is class five racing. The
Your
Shinmun
question marks
River.
all over it.
Yeah, I got question marks. So here's the thing, right? I think the one and the two in this race, right? The Circuit Mighty and Lucky Man. I mean, obviously they're Circuit Mighty's dropping here. This is his first time in Class Five. I think he's got some nice races, or for Class Five at least, right? He's got races that fit and can win this, and he gets Zach, right? I think this horse is just going to get absolutely pummeled, right? Everyone's going to see Zach aboard. They're going to see the drop, and they're going to be like, oh, like they're going to be licking their lips. Zach's won three times on this horse, right? All three of this horse's Hong Kong wins have been with Zach aboard. Funny enough, and then you get the two lucky man who is, I was gonna say lightly raced, but he's got 10 starts here in Hong Kong, right? So like that's probably what a season, right? These are horses that run pretty regularly. So, gets the rail here, gets Hugh Bowman aboard. Hugh's never ridden this horse. Is another horse that's got races in Class Four that fit here, right? But he's had three chances at Class Five, and he's got 2 11ths and a second, right? Not exactly uh, the the consistency, I guess, that you want. So I think I'm going to use both these horses in Quinellas, right? With my pick in this race, who's going to be the 8, Flying Romantic. Now, this is a horse that is 0 for 8 at Sha Tin, 0 for 12 for his Hong Kong career, but he was 0 for 10, never hitting the board, you know, to start the year, to start 2025. And he's got a second and a third going 1,200 meters, right? They tried all weather once, and that didn't work out. But, I'm looking at this race, and I'm not seeing any speed whatsoever. I'm pretty sure that the 13 Fung is who the speed map has on the front end. But this is a horse breaking from the 13 post, who's only shown speed going 1,200 meters on the dirt, right? I think that your actual leader is going to be the 8 Flying Romantic. The start three back, right? He broke from the three post, and he led. He led at the 200 mark, and just missed by a neck. And I think that's the way to go with this horse. I think you got to bring this horse forward. You got to take advantage of the post, and you got to go. Last time out, had a kind of a tough trip and still finished third, right? But you have a little Z pattern here, right, where he kind of lost a bit of ground there in the middle, and was able to make some of it up. So yeah, I like the 8 Flying Romantic here, and I think I'm gonna see what Quinellas are looking like with the 8 Flying Romantic, using the 1 and 2, and probably play some stuff there, or tries King Flying Romantic on top with those two underneath. But definitely gonna have a win bet on Flying Romantic. I mean, I think I don't know. I think like I don't know. I really like this horse. Um, Probably like 7 or 8 to 1 is I'm guessing what kind of price you might get on here. I mean, I think these 1 and 2 are going to take so much money, especially the one. I think the one's going to be crushed. I'm talking like 9 to 5 or worse type crushed in a full field. So I think there's a chance to make a little bit of money here, and by fading those short prices.
God bless you betting this race, man. This is a rough. This is a rough race. I'm glad you found something because I couldn't.
Anything else on this card?
No, I mean it's a Friday night card, so I'm stay up as late as I can watching it. So
Yeah, unfortunately, I had a previous engagement this Friday. Otherwise, we would have been doing the live stream this week. But we should have at least 1 or 2 more chances before the season's over to do those. So, obviously check us out on Twitter and stuff, and we'll make sure to post when that stuff happens. But thank you for checking us out here, and you've got to be Sha Tinning me, obviously, on thewronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I am at Cherry Drank. Matt is at Slow and Steadied. He'll have his full card picks up on Twitter, so make sure you check those out. Let's hope the tote holds, and let's make some money, guys. Have a good weekend.
Good luck, everybody.